Good evening and thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. I hope you're enjoying the content here on the channel. If you are, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also leave a comment and hit the like button as well. It's absolutely free content 6 days a week here on Mark Vogan Weather on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter as well as Facebook. Also looking at the latest radar imagery here, or visible satellite should I say, you can see plenty of clear skies across the southern portions of Norway and Sweden. You can see the snow-capped mountains extending into the north of Germany and Poland as well. We've got a frontal boundary, lots of active weather along that boundary, marking two distinct air masses. We've got a curl over the far eastern Black Sea. We've got the thunderstorms, lightning, hail affecting parts of Turkey in recent 24 hours or so. And we've also got some weather moving into the northwest of Iberia. We've also got a notable frontal system that is creating increased cloud cover across the bulk of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, as well as Ireland and Northern Ireland. Also, looking at the latest radar then, we did see a very wet first half of the day across Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. That frontal system is now moving into the west of Scotland. And as it continues to press eastwards, it is going to start to break up somewhat. We're also seeing some fairly heavy rainfall down across the southwest of the UK as well. Latest temperatures then, you can see at the time of recording just before 5 p.m. on this Friday, the 25th of April. Reasonably pleasant day across, temperature-wise anyway, 15, 16 across the north. Down pegged back to only 9 Celsius at both Aboyne and Inverbervie. Got mid-teens through the central belt, southern Scotland. Feeling that nagging easterly wind coming in off the North Sea here, pegging back the temperatures to around about 10 Celsius with the real field temperatures colder than that, and down across as far south as well. But we are going to start to see the temperatures rise over the next few days. Low pressure winding up across the Atlantic. Got higher pressure sliding just to the east. That's going to open the door to southwesterly winds, and we could potentially see temperatures into the high 20s by the time we reach early portions of next week. In terms of total accumulated precipitation here, we do have rain amounts mounting up across parts of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Western Scotland over the next couple of days here. We do have more systems riding the west-northwestern flank of the high that is going to remain dominant over Central Europe, affecting the majority of the UK, it has to be said, but we do have a frontal boundary quite typical hanging over the north and northwest of the British Isles. That's going to bring some heavy and persistent rain, showers and gusty winds. Also, a real lack of rain right the way through till the middle of next week. This is Wednesday the 30th of April. Last couple of days of the month. You can see here barely a drop of rain across the bulk of England here. A little bit more in the way of rain across southwestern and western Wales, Ireland, Northern Ireland and Scotland. Could see some fairly significant amounts building up on the windward side of the West Highlands, for example. Continue to play it through. You can see that we start to see wetter conditions developing across. This is obviously off the ECMWF model, of course. Developing across the south of the UK, but again the bulk of England north of southern portions of the country remain fairly dry all the way out to next Saturday, and then eventually what happens is we're going to start to see lower pressure gathering south of that block, and that is going to increase wet weather across Iberia and into France as well. Central and southern Europe is going to see its fair share of wet weather also. In terms of precip, anomaly upcoming 7 days off the GFS showing largely drier than average across the UK, as well as Ireland and Northern Ireland, which is quite interesting to see. I thought it might have been slightly wetter here, but nevertheless, the GFS is indicating drier than average, and that drier than average theme increases day 3 through 9, 27th of April through the 4th of May. The reasons for that is that we essentially have quite a strong block and high re-established once again across the majority of the UK and Ireland and into central areas of Europe. But it's as we play it through, you can see that area of low pressure cutting underneath is going to affect Iberia. It's not really showing that off the GFS if you notice here, but nevertheless I think we're going to get undercut areas of low pressure that will affect southwestern portions of the continent. Looking at temperatures then across the continent as a whole, we're clinging on to something resembling a little bit more wintry across the far north. And generally, we've got a mix of relatively cool versus warm, relative cool in Central Europe, slightly warmer southwest and southeast of the continent. We've got probably close to average, maybe slightly above average across, particularly northern UK, through the course of today. But it's fairly typical for the end of April temperatures overall. So let me see the overview chart here. I want to show you May in just a second here, but let's go back to the current situation then. We can see this frontal system of the ECMWF edging in. It breaks apart, fragments, becomes more showery as it feels the pressure building over the continent and over the UK. And then we've got this setup, high pressure to the east, low pressure to the west, southwesterly winds. Yes, we've got some fairly heavy and persistent rain, gusty winds aboard that boundary separating low from high. We've got this wet corridor here across the west and northwest of the British Isles, possibly Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. But further east, you're going to see the temperatures rise with sunshine, with southwesterly winds. We are likely to see temperatures reach at least the mid-20s, I think, as we move towards the early portions of next week here. And even across the Murray Coast, we could see close to the low 20s, possibly even edging towards the mid-20s. Parts of Aberdeenshire, for example, when you've got that Fern effect with southwesterly winds. You can see here as we continue to play through off the ECMWF, high pressure is largely in control of the regime as we progress all the way out to the end of this month. So the majority of next week, it looks as if it's largely high, dry, and warmer than average. Then it looks as if it gets a little bit more interesting towards the first few days of May. The latest run of the ECMWF, now there is high levels of uncertainty with regards to the movement of the high. Depending on where that high moves, depends on what type of air mass we're going to be dealing with. But by the time we reach Friday, the 2nd of May, so this is a wee bit out, this is a way out the next Friday, obviously a week today. But if we look at the air mass here, you can see that we've got quite a collision. We've got an area of low pressure, quite deep as well, winding up just off the Portuguese Spanish coast. That's going to pull warmer air out of Africa. But we've also got an area of high pressure at 1030 millibars seen by them all. So we've got an area of low pressure underneath an area of high pressure. These two systems are essentially driving Arctic air, very, very late season Arctic air, into the UK. At the same time, we've got an area of low pressure west of Iberia that's pulling in some bona fide warmth out of northwestern Africa into Iberia. So we've essentially got, by the time we reach 18 UTC next Friday, the 20 Celsius isotherm at 5,000 feet over southeastern Spain, while we've got -5 over northern Scotland. And this is quite often the case at this time of the year. You get this kind of clash between air masses fighting against one another. We've got summer trying to lift north. We've got winter lingering on to the north, trying to push southwards. There is a lot of uncertainty with regards to the overall longer-term pattern. But I did see somebody mention that the shades of 2007 written all over it, and I think I have to agree with that to an extent. The lack of rain through this springtime, it's going to be very interesting to see how this spring matches up with years going by. Once we get into the month of May, now it could all of a sudden change and we turn wetter into the month of May. But we've had a distinctly dry March. We've had a distinctly dry April. And, we've seen this movie before in terms of very dry spring. And then 2007 or 2012 kicks in and you have one of the wettest summers on record. Now, what's catching my attention is the cooling over 10 Celsius drop in sea surface temperatures over the East Pacific. That means that it looks as if the La Nina is trying to hold on as we head towards this upcoming summer season here. That could have an impact on the hurricane season. It could make it a much busier season than perhaps originally predicted or thought anyway. But also it may reinforce the potentially dry theme as we move into the summer season as well. Because my thinking has often been that El Niños tend to, not always, but tends to lead to something a little bit wetter For the UK, we obviously seen a much wetter summer last year and seasons before that. Then we've got into this kind of semi-permanent dry theme. Now these kind of longer term cycles obviously happen. We know that 2018, for example. But what's going to be interesting to see is the type of setup that we get into the month of May, and then how that dictates beyond that. Looking at the CFSV2, this is for the month of May. High pressure, largely in control to the north, lower heights to the south here. If we look at the precipitation anomaly here of the model, it indicates a wet south, dry north of Europe here. So, this latest CFSB2 is indicate that we remain drier than average across the UK and Ireland. That would be significant if that was to happen. We are going to see a drier and warmer than average April, coming off a drier and warmer than average March, despite the fact that we are seeing rain here and there. We had obviously quite a wet run up to the Easter holidays, etc., etc. But this month overall for the UK as a whole, yes, you've got local variability, but generally speaking, it is a drier than average April. It will end drier than average, but if we can get a drier than average month of May, and we increase that dryness in the ground, what does that lead to further down the road in terms of pressure and also temperature? That's going to be the question. But this is the temperature anomaly of the CFSV2 for the month of May. And next week, we will look at the summer as a whole and the kind of early season ideas. We're edging towards the month of May. The summer forecast will get released towards the end of the month. So stay tuned for that. Also going to be talking about the hurricane season next week. I may do early ideas in terms of my own thinking regarding hurricane season, but also the summer season for Europe as well. So I hope you can stick around. I hope you're enjoying the content. Back pretty much as normal. The only difference is I'm still not doing any live streams this upcoming Sunday, and also next Sunday there will be no live, but I'm hoping the Sunday after that things will go back to normal once again. But there will be a global weather report. It just won't be live. It'll be a pre-recorded video for this upcoming Sunday. So no video tomorrow. Global weather report on Sunday, and then back again as usual on Monday with the European outlook. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and I hope to see you again on Sunday with the global view. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.